Hello, welcome back. Yeah, after all this fuss about those old records from the record fair I have visited last week, let's talk about 4 new records, new stuff. And I have 4 wonderful examples here for this video. I have a record from Analogue production, I have 2 records from Berliner Meisterschallplatten, very interesting stuff. And I have the latest Electric Recording Company record here with me. Yeah, and let's get right into them and start with a very, very exciting release from Analogue production. When I first heard about this record and that it will come, honestly, I couldn't trust my ears. This is not the usual installment from Analogue production, but an important, great one. I talk about Chico Freeman, Spirit Sensitive from 1979. And this is not the typical stuff because Chico Freeman usually is on the free jazz side of things, spiritual jazz side of things. This release is a little different. And why and what is behind this recording we find in this essay or interview in this wonderful tip-on Stoughton gatefold jacket. Very interesting read, very interesting, and brilliant album. The first song, Autumn in New York, is such an interesting example of a song that is only with a saxophone and a bass. Wow. And yeah, when I say bass, let's get into the musicians. Of course, we have Chico Freeman on the tenor saxophone. We have Cecil McBee on bass, Billy Hart on drums, John Hicks on the piano, and Famoudou Don Moyer on the drums. An amazing piece of jazz from 1979, which was recorded, I think, in October and January, October 78 and January 79. And you have a wonderful, accessible piece of music here, but you also get a feeling of Cecil Freeman's different way of doing things, but still very, very accessible. And this makes it such an amazing recording to me. And of course, now that I've fixed a little bit of this crazy noise floor just by putting down the input level from 11 to 1, if I could, I would even lower it more, but that's not possible. And now that I talk about, thank you so much for all your recommendations and help. That really was quite something, and I achieved it way better. It's still a bit problematic, but I will give you also within the next days an example of this wonderful recording so that you get an idea. And no matter the outcome of this one, I guarantee you this is a dead flat, totally silent recording, a wonderful mastering from the mastering lab, and wow, wonderful soft sound stage. Not huge, quite narrow, but very direct to the face. Wonderful, really a fantastic listening experience. If you are not that familiar with Chico Freeman, try this one out. Highly recommended. Maybe a record that not so many has on their list. I know that Thomas Busk had because he was quite eager to get this to get this record, and it's on its way. Thomas, wonderful, huge, great achievement. So happy that we have this artist and his band. At the time he had 2 bands, but he talks about that in the interview. You can read in the inner sleeve. Brilliant. Next is Berliner Meisterschallplatten. I show you the label. roughly 2 weeks ago, I did a stream on my German channel with Sidney Claire Meyer and Rainer Mayard from the Emil Berliner mastering studios. And mostly we talked about mastering in general and about this wonderful, wonderful Deutsche Grammophon series and how they did it with the 4-track and the 8-track master tapes, and very interesting discussion. And during that discussion, Rainer Mayard mentioned that he had luckily put out 2 more installments on this Berliner Meisterschallplatten. And what makes those recordings in general so interesting and amazing is that those are records that are recorded direct to disc. In a nutshell, this means you have at least 1 generation less loss, or loss less. So the mastering goes directly to the lathe, directly to the cutting machine. So 1 generation less. And the outcome in general is stunning. Stunning. What makes these 2 releases now very, very interesting is that they had the idea that they did 1 recording as they usually do with all those microphones. And let's get into those microphones. We have here on this one, so this one is the one that is recorded with the usual amount of microphones. You have Josephson C722. You have a Sennheiser MKH800. You have a Sennheiser MKH20 for the bass. You have a Neumann KM140 overhead and snare. So a lot of microphones. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 microphones that are doing the trick. And on the other one, and that was the idea, come on, let's do another session, because you have to do the whole session or the whole side of the album in 1 take. And then he told us that he asked the musicians, hey, shall we try that with only 2 microphones? And they took Blumlein with Sennheiser MKH30 and the Sennheiser MKH20 support for bass, excuse me. And then he said to me, if you're interested, Michael, I sent you those records and you can listen to those and tell people what you think. And yeah, they arrived quite fast. By the way, those are limited editions. They are limited to 500 pieces. And really great recordings, very, very interesting. So let's start with the regular one, with the 4 microphones, and then you have an amazing audiophile recording with depth, soundstage, information over information. You see, there is everything there. That not one. It sounds like there is not 1 quantum of information lost. Wonderful, powerful, deep. Sounds amazingly beautiful. And then you have the one with the 2 microphones, so the bare bone one, or whatever you want to call it. And it's so obviously, and it's so different, that you have less information, less. But now it gets a little bit complicated in a way. You know, I'm a sucker, I'm a junkie for information in the music, for details. I want everything. I want it as detailed, as punchy as possible. That's how I like to hear my music. And you get that with the 4 microphones in an almost perfect manner. You don't get that with the 2 microphones, but then someone reminded me that details sometimes can distract you from the music. And there is quite some truth to this, of course. Of course. So, the upside on the regular one is that you get everything an audiophile, or skip the audiophile part here. I get everything what I would love to hear concerning details, information and stuff like that. The barebone one is very different. Same music, same band, same room, less microphones. Gives you maybe the more coherent version, where you fall into the music and don't wait for the next big thing, the next boom or whatever. You know, I hope you get the idea. I personally still prefer the regular one. But this is of course a question of taste and giving us, and you know that I'm a junkie for these kind of things too, giving us the opportunity to choose or compare 2 things or 2 ways of doing things. This is amazing and so interesting, and I treasure those 2 records now so much, because you hear this version and this version, and it's such a huge difference. It's so interesting to see, and don't get me wrong, both are top-notch, top-level masterings. Beautiful. Great idea, and in general, those Berliner Meisterschallplatten, great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, the 4th record. I promised you 4, and of course you get 4. The 4th one is Electric Recording Company. Classical release, Schubert, Sonata for Arpeggione and Piano. Mstislav Rostropovich and Benjamin Britten on the piano. Rostropovich on the cello, of course. A Decca release. And I mean, look at the jacket. Oh, I tried to give you what a wonderful, wonderful handmade jacket. Killer. Here you see the recreation of the label. I show you, of course, and it wouldn't be an electric recording company if you wouldn't get a facsimile of the original Decca inner sleeve. And what they do is they give you an polylined edition. It's not. It's so in a way two inner sleeve. Very well made. Of course you get it. Oops! Now it fell down. Needs to happen. Of course I'm back. Here I am. Get it, of course, with an wonderful obi. And yeah, classical music at its best. At its best. Sounds wonderful. And of course Schubert. I mean, for listening classical on your hi-fi equipment, Schubert is can't get much better, or maybe it can't get better in a way. And again, I will give you also an example. I will take a part of this recording so that you can get an idea of it. You know, I never know where I put it. Do I put it on the German channel or on the English channel when it comes to the music? So maybe you just look around, look at the German channel if there is a new, if you're interested in it. Of course, not everybody would like to hear music through YouTube, but if you are just look at the German and or the English channel, there will be a lot of those things. Yeah. So 4 wonderful records, and again, this also shows that luckily we live in wonderful times where we can choose between originals, where we get wonderful reissues, and yeah, cool times, sometimes a lot, especially this year. This year was an explosion when it comes to outstanding, especially when it comes to outstanding reissues. And I think that next year will be the same. We should talk about this topic too. We already discussed this a little bit on the German channel and on the Friday live stream with Nadine and Thorsten, aka Snake All Audio. At least here in Germany, this is a topic that moves people, and there is some need to talk about this. But hey, compare it 6-7 years ago when I started this for me is paradise. Wonderful. I love it. Keep them coming. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope I see you on the next one. Bye.